In our previous video, we talked about how to find a specific string in another string. So we can use the keyword in to identify that, and the result of this function is a Boolean value that says true or false. If the string actually exists in the string, then it will return true. If it does not exist, then it will return false. So to show, for example, if we have A, which is I'm here to learn Python, if we say, for example, is the string saw in A. And so we can see that it returns false because saw does not actually exist in A. But if we say is saw not in A, then it will say true. And if we say is here, which actually is in the string, not in A, it will say false. Now, other operations that we can perform on strings is to generate a specific format. So we can say, for example, we can write txt equals there is this, then this, then this. Now these curly brackets indicate empty spaces that we can fill in with a format command. So what we're gonna do right now is try to fill them in with a specific input. And so we have a invalid syntax. So there needs to be a space here. Okay, and oh, okay, sorry. So this needs to be a string. Okay. So now we identified a string where we can place different values using the format function. So we're going to print right now the use of that. And so we're going to say text.format, and then we're going to give the three values. So we're going to write, let's give them like 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so this they're going to be filled in with these values 1, 2, and 3. And if you see here, the text.format returns a new string and fills in the values into the markers where we indicated placeholders. Now, sometimes we want the first one to be placed here, the second one here, and the third one, so we want them, for example, in reverse. So a way to do that is that when we place these brackets, we also place which variable is going to be placed in it. So we're going to say put 3 here and put 2 here. Oh, actually it should be, I think, 0 because they start from 0. So we're going to say put the second one here and put the first one here and put the last one here. So what it's going to do is it is going to, if we do this one again, it's going to take the first one and place it in the middle. It's going to take the second one and place it here. And it's going to take the third one and place it there. And if you can see here, it says there is 2. So it took 0 and placed it here. It took the second one and placed it here, and took the third one and placed it here. So we can, by using the curly brackets and also indicating the number or placement of the variable in the format arguments and where it should be placed within the text. So that's something that we can do. Okay, so now we're going to start with the next part of our workshop, which is Boolean values. Now, it's very important for us to be able to describe Boolean values, which means that we describe if a statement is true or false, because we can use that to make decisions using the if statements or conditional statements. So before we can use conditional statements, we need to be able to identify Boolean values and also use operators that return back a true or a false value. So for example, if I define x equals 3, and I define y equals 4, and I define z equals 3, so I can now get return back Boolean values by asking questions about these variables. Now, if you noticed here that I used equals to define an assignment. So where I said declare x and also assign to it the value 3. And this is when I use the equal sign. It means assign to x the value of 3, assign to y the value of 4, assign to z the value of 3. But if I say is x equal y, this does not mean assign to x the value of y. This is asking a question. Is x equal to y? And so the operator equal is a conditional operator. It's an operator that returns a Boolean value. It returns either true or false. So if x actually equals y, it will say true, and if it does not equal it, it will say false. So in this case, x does not equal y, and so it returns false. But in the case where x actually equals the other variable, it should give true. So x and z actually equal each other, and so it gave it true. And then we can say y is larger than, for example, z, which is also true, and we can also say smaller than, and so we'll try to say y is smaller than z, and that is actually false. So these operators are actually what we call conditional operators, and they are mainly used in if statements to make decisions. So right now, what we're going to do is we are going to try to use these operators in an if statement and see what happens. So we're going to define, for example, a GPA equals 50. Okay, and so now we are going to ask a question about the GPA. We're going to say if GPA is larger than 50, right? In this case, if you can see here, the syntax that we use, if GPA is larger than 50, 2 dots, and then now we need to indent, we say print you passed. Okay, and then we also have else, also 2 dots, and then we say print in case that the GPA was less than or equal to 50, it is going to say you failed. And so the answer is you failed because the GPA equals 50 and was not larger than 50. And so here you can see that we use these conditional statements into making decisions on what to output to the user. Now, sometimes we have more than one condition, or we have combined conditions. And so here becomes There is the concept of, is it logically equivalent to what I want to do in real life? So that is something completely different than, can my program